Daar's hy, goeiemiddag, good afternoon, Morweni, salam, shalom en namaste, baie goeie dag van my Neil de Beer op 'n Vrydag, my nuwe tyd. Ons het nou geskuif van Woensdag aande na 'n nuwe tyd op 'n Vrydag 3 uur in die middag, sodat ek daar 'n bietjie kan praat oor die week wat was. Good afternoon. Welcome to Neil de Beer's new time slot on Fridays at 3 o'clock, so that we can reflect on the week that was and discuss what is coming for the next week. So ek hoop dat ons gewoon kan raak op hierdie nuwe tydstip. Ek hoop daar's genoeg mense so that we can have 5 or 10 minutes just to talk to each other straight. The straight talk with Neil will never change. We will always find a way to get to you. And I hope that this time slot will attract more people and that we can share and like. As julle op hierdie oomblik vir my kyk, hallo almal, if you can just press the like button at the bottom, it helps us with the algorithm and it helps us to forward these small sections of information to so many other people. As jy dit net kan like and share and forward vir my, sal ek dit baie reg op hierdie dag waardeer met u. So, let's get right to the point. Today is a very short but brief opinion about only one subject, and that is the obvious, absolute, nonsensical message from this president at SONA. I'm going to just touch on a couple of subjects from my point of view about what they called the State of the Nation address, which I called the State of the Nation apology. So instead of SONA being an address to this country, I wanted an emphatic apology from the president of this country, the outgoing president. Suid-Afrikaans is baie duidelik op hierdie oomblik na die absolute, ongelooflike, onsinnige debat gisteraand van die president, die uitgaande president van hierdie republiek. I don't know if I'm the only person that was sitting there listening to how this outgoing president stood for nearly 2 hours in front of the world and seemingly was speaking about a foreign country, but definitely not about our country. So the following couple of points is directly directed to Cyril. And I'm very clear, very unemotional, but as a person that understands global politics, understands global business, and understands what this country is currently going through, I would like to just point out a couple of things that made no sense. Let's talk about this president's opinion on state capture. When that president last night spoke about state capture, the efforts that his government has made to stop the current looting of state coffers, and when he started to talk about he stopped corruption, I had to look around me to see if I'm in a world of reality. Mr. President, hear me well. On the point of state capture, you were part of it. You might have forgotten that you were the deputy president during the Zuma rule. You were not a minister. You were not a member of parliament. You were not a member of a provincial legislature. And you were not a councillor in a council. You were the vice deputy president of this country when state capture took place. Mr. Ramaphosa, may I also remind you that under oath, you testified at the Zondo Commission, which was put into action to uncover state capture. And at that Zondo Commission, you faced the questions of Judge Zondo, who is now the Judge President of this country, where you said that in state capture, the ANC was accused number one. Now, if in your term as Vice President and in the term of Jacob Zuma as President, if the ANC was accused number one, the then President Jacob Zuma accused number two, and if you were the Vice President of this country, which you were, there can be no doubt that if there was a charge sheet, surely you would be accused number three. Under oath, you admitted, clearly, it's on record, that state capture was a fact. Yet last night, when you addressed this country, you spoke of state capture as if it is a total different planet than what you were. I put it to you on record that you were part of that system that broke this country. And I expected at the least a public apology. You might not have been responsible, but as President, you are accountable. You see, Mr. President, when you can come to this country and you are humble and you ask for forgiveness, there was at least a point where we could have given you such apology, accept such apology, and we might have seen a glimmer of hope. You destroyed that last part of glimmer of hope on the judgment of this country to you as a leader. Secondly, what you don't understand, and I will say it here, the total amount of apparent loss of money in this country during that period is not 1 million, it's not 1 billion, it's 1 trillion rand. Now you will understand there's an escalation, Cyril, of zeros. 6 zeros, 9 zeros, and then 12 zeros. Million, billion, trillion. Last night you said on several occasions that your SIU, your law enforcement agencies have been able to recover 70 billion, 8 billion, 12 billion, 19 billion, billion. But when you recognize that it was 1 trillion that was stolen, when you say you've recovered 70 billion, it's insignificant to the further amount that was stolen. To the country as a whole, that might have seemed impressive, but to those who can at least count, it was an insult to this republic. You then say that you will never stop until every last penny, every last state money that was stolen will be returned. And you would also not stop until you prosecute, arrest, and put in jail those that have stolen. For a country that cannot even get an arrest warrant, an extradition order to deliver the Guptas from Dubai. For a country who last night was sitting cozily in Cape Town City Hall. Yes, Cape Town City Hall. Because you've not even started to replace one brick, one tile, one carpet in the burnt out parliament of this country. You want us to believe that everybody sitting in the ANC benches in front of you, that they are not between them, amongst them, some of them that were not part of stripping this country like a group of hyenas on a springbok carcass. You see, Mr. President, maybe you should read every page of the Zondo Commission. Now it's a lot of papers. We spent over 1.2 billion rand over 3 years listening day to day to the Zondo Commission's heart-wrenching horror story. So, Mr. President, maybe if you just dipped your face beyond the microphone, you would have noticed there are people allegedly sitting right in front of you who allegedly were part of state capture. We watch with interest how one of them, two of them, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of them will be arrested according to your oath and your word. Then, Mr. President, you talk about those 2 words that you so love. Projects, programs. Projects, programs. Every year you come with new projects and new programs. And if both your projects and your programs fail, then you love the 3rd word, committee. And then you come to the 4th one, commission of inquiry. So if a project fails, you appoint a new program. If your projects and programs fail, then you establish a committee to find out why the projects and the program didn't work. And when the project and the program and the commission doesn't work, then you go to a commission of inquiry. Well, now you've got projects and programs and commissions of inquiry who all fail, but it costs 1.2 billion while you are projecting, programming, commissioning and inquiring. Ons is nou deelagtig, gatvol vir jou programme, projekte en kommissies. We are not going to fall for that again. And you know what is the funniest joke of all? Is while you are projecting, programming, commissioning, as you are talking in that hall, that load shedding is over. While you are saying that to the public of this country, I get a WhatsApp from Eskom's push saying that we have just declared stage 3 load shedding. Hoe tos en gat maak jy nie jou naam nie, president? Hoe tos en gat maak jy nie die minister van elektrisiteit se naam nie? Because while you were talking, the camera turned on the Minister of Electricity. I mean, this guy had one job. En hy sit daar en hy kyk vir jou terwyl jy projects en program en mega kilo gatsawatt gaan julle nou uitdraai, skakel hulle die ligte af. Want as die Kaapse stadsaal nie 'n generator gehad het nie, dan was julle ook nou geproject en gebladdy program met 'n kerslig, soos die res van die land. Skokkend. And there your Minister of Electricity sits like a little baby seal, waiting for a small piece of snook, and doing this while he's looking at you. Watter dom wetter. He's singing and clapping for his supper. That's what you've done. Mr. President, then I stood there and listened how you repetitively used a singular word more than 8 times. Make no mistake, you had to use that word because you know that your party, which you are by the president of as well, is going to lose the next election. You vehemently knew that when you got onto that stage last night, that this will be your last sonar. I mean, you even said that. You are right. This is your very last sonar. Not just as president of this republic, but for the presidency of the party that you so eloquently helped destroy, the ANC. You used the word black. Yeah, black. More than 8 times. Now, as a person that fought in the struggle, that cannot get to see race at all, I think my history, my credentials, my name is attached to that same struggle. The hate I still get. Die woord verraaier wat nog steeds by my lê. I gave that so that you also could be free, Mr. Ramaphosa. So you see, your problem is you can't say this is a white guy. No, you can't. You can't say this is a racist guy. I suffered the consequence. Still do, for standing up for you and that old ANC of Mandela. I take my shots. I take responsibility. And I have asked apology for many of the things that we have failed. I have. You have not. So when you sit there and you continually say, as a president of a multiracial country, a country yourself that you said last night is diverse, to repetitively 30 years later say black business, black economic empowerment, black agriculture, black industry, black companies. Don't you get it? Don't you get it? Every time you say that word, you go against every single ethical word of Nelson Mandela. Where Mandela said reconciliation, you decided last night to rip it apart again. You see, Mr. Ramaphosa, Rampies, Cupcake, Suki Cyril, go read the founding statement of the Freedom Charter of the ANC. Yes, the Freedom Charter, which is basically your constitution. You see, Mr. President, when you read the Freedom Charter, like I have, in it, it says, in an opening statement of the ANC's Freedom Charter, that this country, this land, belongs to all whom live within it, black, and here it comes, white. Did you not read that in your founding statement of the Constitution of the ANC? So I don't have to lecture you on the rules, the Constitution and the Freedom Charter of your own party, do I, Mr. President? But I think the one that shocked me the most, the thing that made me truly ill to my stomach, is that you gave absolute zero solutions to the devastating crime, the devastating murder, and the devastating genocide, which is unannounced, which is like a domestic war in this country with 70 people dying a day. And you spoke about gender-based violence. Gender-based violence. But you have stopped none. And again, the people applauded you when you said you are going to put another 1,000, another 10,000 police officers on the ground. Maar jy kan nie eens Miljoeskop, die ou polisie college, sal nie eers dit doen nie. Jy kan nie eers die ou polisie college se gras sny nie. Jy kan nie die Wes-Kaapse polisie se radio's aansit nie. Jy kan nie plaasmoorde stop nie, wat jou kos is nie. Jy kan nie die voertuie van die polisie op die pad hou nie. So jy kan nog 20,000 mense op die grond sit. Maar as hulle nie 'n poeier vir vingerafdrukke het nie, dan moet jy nou hoor, president, jy wat nog nooit in 'n polisiewa gery het voor nie. Dan moet jy nou mooi hoor, jy is moer toe. En al jou ministers met hoetjies wat vir hulle salaris. And by the way, ons betaal jou dollars se salaris. And then you end your rip-roaring, utter comical speech with a quote from Nelson Mandela. You see, you have to go back and go reach so far, even to the depth of a coffin, to try and get enthusiasm to save that very ANC, which you and many others for the past 15 years have destroyed. You have. And then you quote the story of a fictitious girl called Swallow. And you say how much you've paid this fictitious woman through state grant, state funding, state housing, and state education. You see, Mr. President, while you are boasting that more than 12 million people in this country get grants to an international economy, that's not a good thing. That's an insult. That's an insult. That you say that more than a quarter of the population of this country needs welfare. You see, welfare can only be done by a wealthy country because charity starts at home. But you brag about it. And the biggest joke is while you saying that Swallow got actually paid to go study, go ask the students that are on NSFAS that didn't get paid their money to study this year. And you talk about RDP houses as if it is humanly okay. Cyril, take your shiny black BMW, which we pay for, and go ride along in the informal settlements, waar die stront en die drolle verby hulle voordeur vloei, soos die Victoria waterval, where those people that you say you represent have not received the promise of a better life for all. So in conclusion, Mr. President, just ripping a couple of pieces of your dramatic circus speech last night. Fool me once. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. Suid-Afrikaans het op 'n punt gekom waar hulle nou na strooihelms moet skrik en trek. Waar hulle nou moet beloftes maak wat totaal in die wolke lê. I end off by telling you very clearly that while you are paying people to prop you up, while you are talking about matters of NSFAS, SASSA, police and defense that are dramatically falling apart, you were standing in the middle of a platform which was built on the blood of all South Africans. There will come a time that we will keep you all accountable for what has been done. The multi-party charter, that very charter, that very alliance, which you called insignificant, which you said moonshot, moon pact, that moon thing. Hear me well, Mr. President. The time has changed. If you did not see last week, where we also stood in a city hall of Joburg, if you haven't seen clearly now that change is now realistically coming, then again, like last night's speech, you were in Kukulala land. But reality is coming. Change is coming. So make ready for truly not just your last sona, but your last days sitting in that presidency, paid for by us. Dit is jou laaste dae in daai kantoor. Dit is jou laaste dae waar jy weer voor hierdie land op 'n mikrofoon vir so baie van ons loop en lieg. We are not going to, as you say, fuel violence. We are not going to be taken for a fool. We are not going to take the bait for us to become violent, obstructive, like you say, and to create chaos. No, sir. We are not going to fall for that trap. As hard as it might be, as difficult it is to lose people through murder, through violence every day, you must know that the people of this country will not go and become revolutionary like other politicians are saying from their podium, those that are in red, that you've done nothing about. No, sir, we are not going to become that. We are not, because we have got God and a sane mind. Mr. Ramaphosa, we are going to come to the ballot box. We are going to stand patiently on that day, like we have always done, with no violence, with no chaos, one by one, all the people, more than 28 million people, will that day stand in a queue from the dusk and the dawn to democratically, ethically remove you and this ANC cabal of today from office. Because South Africans are tired. Mamela Cyril, Nomslanje, Apaimzanzi, Indeniwe of you. Indeniwe, tired. So we are asking everybody, let's stay calm. Let's focus. Let's grow. And like the Springboks did, like Bafana did, and like Driekus did, it's funny to me that you mentioned everybody last night except the victory of Driekus du Plessis. You see, you didn't mention him because you know he blatantly, on an international platform, told the truth. Hy het jou goed moer toegestuur. And that's why you ignored him. Last night, a world champion denied because he spoke the truth. Die waarheid maak seer. So Cyril, as I sit here today in the most beautiful country on earth, I can declare that we've got a beautiful country, just absolutely bad and sad management. You are fired. And by the way, julle weet nog nie wat ons weet nie. God bless this Republic of South Africa. God se rykste seën op hierdie Republiek van Suid-Afrika. Maar God altyd nommer 1. God bless you. Look after yourself this weekend. Klappeworsie, chisenyama, 'n lekker hoendertjie nkoko. En daar's niks fout met 'n druppeltjie Olofberg. Tussenin nie. Lief vir julle. Ons kom. Groete.